Hey folks, Todd here. Today we're going to install the Husky Liner's trail armor on this 2020 Ram 2500 crew cab. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now before you get started, you want to make sure that the surface where you're mounting is going to be completely clean, free of any kind of dirt, any kind of grease or residue. You also want to make sure that if you've got a ceramic coating applied to your paint, that portion what we're attaching to, the ceramic is removed per the instructions of that ceramic manufacturer. Ceramic coatings are designed for things not to stick to them, and this 3M tape is designed to stick to paint. So that ceramic coating has to come off the paint first, and this will adhere beautifully to the paint. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the rear. You also want to make sure you're at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit. On this particular one, you're going to be able to see on here you got a sticker. It says LR, stands for left rear. So I've got the correct side and the correct end of the cab. And I want to dry fit this first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wedge that between the door. There's not a lot of room there behind the door. And then bring this back. You'll notice this kind of wraps right around the edge of the back of the cab. And I'm going to kind of hold that in place to see where it's going to be. Take note of where all the tape areas are that we're going to be treating for. So, because we need to clean off the surface of the paint with rubbing alcohol. So once we see exactly where that's going to go, we can go ahead and pull that away, set it to the side. We're going to take some alcohol prep pads that are in our kit, open those up and clean off all of the surface area where the tape is going to adhere. Now that alcohol prep pad is going to do a good job of removing any kind of residue. It's also really good for taking off things like wax buildup and that sort of thing. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I've prepped this piece. So you're going to notice I've got some blue tape that's holding some of our tape protector back. When I flip this over, you'll see that along the edges, like along this long bottom edge, I've peeled back just a couple inches of the tape on each side, and I'm holding it onto the other side. That way, whenever I have it set in place, none of the tape is kind of caught back behind the protector. That way I can access it and pull it free. So you want to pull a little bit free from each of the corners, pull a little bit free from this side over here, from each of these sides, and from this corner, so on and so forth. Next, what I'm going to go ahead and do is very carefully set this in place. Now, the area that this is going to adhere to is just bare paint that's been cleaned off, so it's probably going to want to grab pretty quickly. So you just want to be very careful as you're guiding it up in place, because you don't want it to grab too fast. So again, I'm going to just very gently kind of put it between the door and go ahead and rotate this up like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working all of the tape out of the way. So I'm going to grab this piece and pull that out. All right, once it started to make a bond to the pinch weld and to the paint, you want to bear down on that adhesive to get good bond. Make sure you bear down on all the areas where the adhesive is touching the paint. Okay, so now I have the left front piece at the front door. If I roll this over, again, we're gonna have a little sticker. It's got the part number up there, then LF for left front. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just like the rear one, I'm gonna go ahead and set this in place and dry fit it. Make sure I see exactly where everything's gonna go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of get it past where the door jamb is there. And then my rear door, I have that somewhat open so that I can line this up to the rear portion. So what we're going to want to do is make sure that these two butt together. Now again, we're going to pay real close attention to the areas where the tape is going to be touching the paint, and we're going to go ahead and clean off those areas with our alcohol prep pads. Okay, now just like I did on the rear, I've gone ahead and peeled back some tape in some areas. So both these sides, corners peeled back. Over here, I've got this peeled back along as the sill plate piece peeled back on both sides, this peeled back in this corner. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this in place. I'm gonna start with this edge that comes back to the rear door. So let's go ahead and swing over, get that in place. I'm going to very gently bring that up to line it up where it needs to be. And bear it down. And I'm going to go ahead and start peeling out some tape. I'll go ahead and bear in on all the areas to make sure you get good adhesion. Okay, now that we've got everything in place and everything adhered, one last thing I like to do to make sure I've got really great adhesion all the way around is use a dry microfiber cloth. And all the areas where I've got the adhesive, I want to bear down with the cloth and run that in. What that does is that allows me to put really good pressure on the surface and wipe back and forth without trying to move anything around. All right, now once we've done that in the front and the rear, we can go to repeat the same process on the opposite side. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.